Hey guys, sorry about that. As I'm just reading some comments in the chat, Luis, yes, power outage. Yeah, Dots is right. My computer just kind of shut off in the middle of the stream. I'm really sorry about that. I feel kind of bad personally. Um, One of the things on my list of things to do is actually to get a new PC in the very near future, in the next month or two. Just kind of busy with whirlwind of things at the moment. That being said, though, we're going to continue with this. So, we're just going to deal with everything on StreamYard right now. But thank you for staying with us, as I know more people just pop back in. We were having a great discussion about the PlayStation Showcase. And we just like some really interesting comments from across the group. Now, I couldn't remember who was talking last when I just got kind of powered out.
It was me, and I just want to apologize that I caused the men in yellow, as you put it, to come and raid your house and shut down the power because I had some off-putting things to say about PlayStation. So I'll be silent from here.
Oh boy, oh boy. No. You were on a pretty good little, don't want to say tangent, but you were making some excellent points.
I agree with the sentiment totally.
No, I'm just saying, at least to cap it off, I did see some games I want to play. I'm going to be getting them on Xbox. It was really great that PlayStation had the time to advertise some Xbox games to me. But definitely, I'm not saying that it was a shit show. I'm just saying that it's a change in direction from what we're used to, and people should have seen it coming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you're right. You're absolutely right. And this is them pivoting, obviously, a response to, well, changes in the industry. You basically summed it up pretty well in what you were saying. Now, Centurion, I know you and Dots have a lot to say on, again, PlayStation Showcase. Please take it away.
Yeah, so we both watched it not together, but at the same time, then talked about it right afterwards. So I'm gonna power on through some
words. Nathan Fillion.
Nathan Fillion, baby.
Nathan Fillion.
Yeah, because the Cade reveal, I actually screamed at my television. Now, to be fair to I did know about that because that leaked about a year ago. We didn't know if it was real or not at the time, and then I screamed at the television when we knew it was real.
Especially bringing Nathan back as the voice actor.
Yeah, Nathan Fillion is coming back as the voice of Cade 6 in the final shape. So we were both very excited for that. We're both huge Bungie fans. Quick, I'm just going to list off some games that I was excited for. Immortals of Avium, the first-person shooter that's all magic. It's like Call of Duty or Doom, but like instead of guns, it's magic. Looks awesome. July, it's coming to Xbox. Gonna play it. Dragon's Dogma 2 looks excellent. Need to play the first one. Alan Wake 2 looks excellent. I played the first one. It's excellent. Assassin's Creed Mirage, I also kind of yelled at the TV because it was classic Assassin's Creed, and I was very excited for it. The Pirates of the Caribbean, I think Centurion was excited for that as I am. It looks good. Let's talk about the Bungie stuff, though, because we have resident and Bungie experts on the panel. Marathon, that was the most watched trailer of all of the stuff afterwards, after the showcase. I don't know if anyone knew that. It was seen by 2 million more people than Spider-Man. Collectively across all PlayStation, IGN, GameSpot, any of the major sources that have stuff. Bungie Sales did an excellent recap of that. And that's largely because Bungie did an entire ARG after the real world kind of like puzzle solving things afterwards. They had this really cool puzzle where you basically had to like watch through the trailers and find puzzles and stuff that was hidden in them, and it would take you to like these weird websites they had set up, and they launched an entire Vidoc later that night. It's like a 3-4 minute developer diary, and it's awesome. The game's going to be an extraction shooter like Tarkov. It's coming to everything. It's going to have cross-play. It's going to have cross-save, so cross-progression on everything. Sounds really good. Marathon has really, really cool lore for anyone who is interested in it. It's also kind of pseudo-confirmed to be in what is being referred to as the Destiny Paraverse, like basically a multiverse. For those of you who don't know, there's a famous gun in Destiny called the Meta Multi-Tool, which was a reference to the original Marathon games, that it was a gun that actually traveled between dimensions to the Destiny dimension and references all kinds of lore from Marathon that the scholars in the universe of Destiny are like, where did this come from? So that seems like they're going to have like a little bit of interconnection there. The game is being helmed by Christopher Barrett, who is a very famous person who saved Destiny twice in its history. The first time, well, he didn't really save it the first time, but he created the Age of Triumph, the best period of Destiny 1. And he saved Destiny 2 after Curse of Osiris by like reversing Curse of Osiris, which DotzRTS can confirm. Excellent. Yeah, you can confirm it's excellent though, can't you? That like he is like someone who like has done good things.
Yeah, well, and we've talked about this before. Is just that the fact that unfortunately for the Destiny community, we are getting a lot of our good people moved over to Marathon, which is great. I'm glad to see it. It also means that the PvP in Destiny 2 is not going to get any love anytime soon. It's
it
probably
should be noted that the people that are leaving have been leaving over the past few years have been the PvP team. Has largely moved over to Marathon, while the PvE developers have been really augmented. So it's not like Destiny is being put on life support or anything. It's PvP.
No, and even this season alone has been proof of that. Like this season, Crusader and I have been digging into. The lore is great. The new dungeon that came out on Friday is fantastic. The loot, the transmogs, like some of the best we've had in a long time. Destiny 2 is not dead.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I'm looking forward to is all these PlayStation games getting revealed and all these multiplayer PlayStation games getting revealed. You know for a fact there's going to be a bunch of people saying this will be the Destiny killer. This will be the Destiny killer. And every single time
it's not going to happen.
It dies.
Yeah. Yeah. For people who like classic Halo multiplayer gunplay, right? Who like the Halo 3, you should be a little excited for Marathon because the multiplayer director, the guy who's like the head of specifically the multiplayer elements, because there's some PvE elements to any extraction shooter, but the guy who's in charge of them, specifically the PvP multiplayer portion of it, is Lars Bacon. Lars Bacon was the head of Halo 3's multiplayer, right? He was in charge of Halo 3's multiplayer segment at Bungie way back when. He is in charge of Marathon's multiplayer. And it's just really exciting. I'm very, very excited for it. And it is coming to everything. You know, Jim Ryan was not kidding when he came on GameIndustry.biz the day they bought it and said, listen, Bungie is going to release, is going to keep releasing Destiny everywhere it is. And they're still going to be doing their future stuff like that too, because we think that's important because they bought them as like an advisor more so than like an advisor, and they wanted the money more so than like to actually use them as exclusives. And if anyone denies that future Destiny content or future Destiny content or Bungie content in general is going to be not multi-platform, you're wrong, because the Marathon is now everywhere, right? And everything they do in the future will be everywhere too. I can guarantee that. Showcase wise, I think Dots will agree with me that, I mean, the showcase overall as a generic untitled showcase was fairly good, right? Like if this had been a Summer Game Fest show, this probably would have been the best thing that Jeff Keighley ever released, right?
I'm going to disagree with you just to spite you, but
That's
please
fair.
Continue.
You do like to spite me. It is the dichotomy of our relationship. But so like I would give the show as a generic unlabeled show an 8 out of 10. I would give it a 6 out of 10 as a PlayStation show, and that's not even because of it being games as a service focused. They just didn't really show me anything about the future of PlayStation at all. They showed me a lot of CGI'd trailers, the thing that Xbox has historically gotten crucified for, right? The only real gameplay they showed for anything from the PlayStation studios was Spider-Man, if I'm not mistaken. Am I mistaken in saying that? Panel?
Not from what I've noticed.
I think it was all CGI.
Like the thing I liked about it was that I would have given that entire show a 6 out of 10, and then I saw Microsoft put that whole coming to Xbox.
Coming to Xbox.
As soon as I saw that, I'm like, this show's an 8 out of 10. Thank you, Sony, for showing me all the things I can't wait to play on Xbox.
Yeah,
that's what I like to see. I do like the Spider-Man. I think all the Spider-Man games have been fantastic looking. It really throws me back to Spider-Man 2 for the PS2.
Yeah, it looks very fun. And note, I am explicitly talking about PlayStation Studio stuff, because if we look historically at Xbox and what they've done at their showcases, now an Xbox showcase is usually about a half an hour longer, right? But let's look at Xbox showcases, and our lovely Clobriel, however you say his username, I've never actually known. He did a breakdown of, how many first-party things you can expect from an Xbox showcase, and it's between 12 to 15 pieces of first-party content, whether that be updates on things like Sea of Thieves or Elder Scrolls Online, or it be something, brand new. Now, granted, Xbox, for a while, it was a lot of CGI stuff, right? And even if you scale that back by, a third, you would still expect like 9 to 10 things from the first party. And like PlayStation's first party is they've acquired a lot of stuff lately, and they do a lot of outsourced publishing, right? Like with things like Deviation, or the KOTOR remake that they're publishing for their console, or the Silent Hill remake that they're publishing for their console, right? So I would have expected a bit more, and I personally would have expected, if we're doing a bunch of CGI trailers for games as a service games, we know of several single-player games that are in development. Why did we not get a CGI trailer or two for a single-player game? Like, they offered no balance. I knew that they were going to introduce a ton of games as a service games, but they had no couth to it. They didn't let their fans down easy. They didn't throw them a bone or two of like, yeah, these are some single-player stuff that's coming too, even if they were just CGI as well. I don't think they did a good job of that, and that's why I'd say as a PlayStation showcase, it's like a 6 or a 5. It didn't, even at the games of a service level, it didn't tell me really anything about the future of their stuff except for Destiny 2, because Destiny 2 I don't need to see gameplay of, because it's a game that exists. It's in my hands right now. I play it every day, right? So if they're showing me Cade 6 in a valley talking to Ikora Rey, then like I've got a pretty good idea of at least something that's going to be happening in final shape. You know what I mean? I don't need to see gameplay of that right now. But like the awful, what's the Haven game called?
Fair Games.
Yeah, Fair Games. Yeah,
Fair
Games looks kind of terrible, and that's from the CGI trailer. It looks like a cheap version of Watch Dogs cross Payday. And it looked generic live service game to me. Like that there's that battle royale from Ubisoft that already closed down. Can't think of what it was called. Right? It just looks cheesy to me. And we learned nothing about Concord. Now, Concord I'm a little bit more interested in based on the fact that it's a sci-fi FPS. But they showed like nothing for it. There was less there than there was in the Starfield reveal back in like, what was that, 2018, 2019, 2017? Like, I just, even in showing the games as a service games, even if that was the focus, they did a terrible job because I know nothing. Nothing at all. Right? And after 600 days without a showcase, I still really can't tell you much more from before the show what they're really doing besides the names of a couple projects that we knew existed because they were just like unannounced project, but I don't really know anything more about that project besides its name and maybe a kind of a concept of what it's going to be. So I think this fell flat on its face, personally. You got anything else, Dots?
No, I actually agree with you this time.
Yeah.
No, I agree. Like, I see the things I like that are on Xbox. I think PlayStation had one W with that showcase, and that was Spider-Man.
Oh, it looks so good, and I want it now.
and other than that, like, I watched it for games that are coming to Xbox and PC, and that's what I got. And I can't wait to see Xbox top it because I don't think that will be a hard, bar to overcome.
Listen, they need to show one or two single player like game. Like, they need to show Avowed or Hellblade, right? In combination with Forza and Starfield. And they've blown that showcase out of the water. I think they will do it. I'm almost positive they will do it. I just don't like saying Xbox will do it. I can't. There's 99% of my body is like, they cannot screw this up. This has to be Xbox's moment where they can come out swinging. This would be the greatest brand recovery moment ever, because their biggest competitor is at their weakest, like, press-wise right now. They could score some bongo credibility if they have a bunch of single-player games at this showcase, let me tell you. Right? Because, of course, Sea of Thieves is going to be there. So is ESO. ESO is an expansion, right? At Centurion, that's after the showcase. Sent?
Oh yeah, no. Just to add to that, Crusader. Even stuff like for Minecraft as well, I wouldn't be surprised. You know, that's the typical ones. So.
Yeah. Minecraft, ESO, Sea of Thieves, they have to be there.
I'm sure we're going to see Compulsion's new game as well.
I would love to see Compulsion's new game. I think that has a good chance. You know, I think Avowed and Hellblade both have huge chances, right? And I really do think Xbox has like a huge opportunity to basically I don't want to say rebrand themselves, but like fix their brand image in a way, because they can go from they can basically say this is the new Xbox, and you know we actually here at Xbox are balancing our single player and our multiplayer, and we have some things that are even in between where they're like single player, but you can do them co-op. They could come out so strong and regain so much of their brand image because of this PlayStation showcase. Now they do have to follow through on it all. That is one thing that people aren't going to let up on. Like Starfield needs to come out looking pretty good. I don't mean like it needs to be perfect or by any stretch of the means, but like Starfield can't come out and be a dud. But like, yeah, I think this PlayStation showcase was the perfect tee up for Xbox to do good things.
Mm-hmm. Now, Shockley, buddy, I know you've been waiting patiently. Did you catch the PlayStation showcase at all? And if so, do you have any thoughts on it? Do you agree with what the guys have been saying?
Yeah, overall, 6 out of 10 sounds right. I thought for sure there was going to be some like big surprises, especially since they hadn't had a show in like 2 years. So I thought for sure they were going to, here's the time, to put Microsoft in their place with kind of some of the bad, news that they've had in the recent weeks or months. So I thought for sure they would obviously hit Spider-Man, and maybe would hear some of their games as a service partnerships. But I thought for sure we'd see something, because apparently people think there's maybe a second show this year, but like there's no indication of that. And if this is it, then it's like, you should at least tell us there's like another show. That way your base isn't like, oh, well, I got a PS5. Oh, okay, well, I know Spider-Man's coming out this year, but well, what's coming out next year? Because, or when's this next? Because usually at least you'd get something like, hey, these games are scheduled for, within the year. We're going to start showing them now. Rarely do you do the old like Bethesda thing where they show you the first glimpse a few months before release. So that was kind of odd that we didn't see anything, or even like, I know they had a lot of CGI trailers in there. I'm surprised we just didn't see like just a teaser of something coming. Because
what is
that's the other thing that.
What is it?
Nothing.
Nothing. Like yeah, that's what I mean. Like we don't know anything.
Who knows? Exactly. But that's the other thing. They could show a teaser. Like Microsoft doesn't really have so much of a luxury, even though that's what we kind of wanted from them, just to show us, hey, at least what's coming. But now we're like, well, teaser doesn't really mean anything because we saw how Redfall released. Whereas Sony has that goodwill, so they could show a teaser and get their whole base hype, because they're like, well, it's going to be quality when it releases, more than like, they have that goodwill. So I'm surprised they didn't even have something like that. But outside of that, definitely Phantom Blade was probably the game of show for me, outside of like, Spider-Man or something like that. We'll see how much of that was actual gameplay. And it sounds like that might not be a full-on exclusive, might be more like timed, and then if they get to it, maybe they'll kind of like how Sifu kind of ended up eventually on Xbox. But we'll see. But that was the surprising part, is that how many of the games were not first party or not like really exclusive. Like outside of that game, there's all the other ones they announced, like Xbox, hit that graphic. That was a savvy move by them. That was funny. And then I guess IGN was using that same exact picture from the Xbox account to promote, hey, these are like the PlayStation Showcase games. I thought that was surprisingly lazy, but it's like they literally just screenshot it and then just typed in their font. But yeah, Spider-Man looks good. I hope it was cool seeing how the actual symbiote in action with the suit. Hopefully, we see more of Venom. I'm just kind of fanboying at the days when we were used to playing like Ultimate Spider-Man, where you could play Venom and Spider-Man. That was probably one of my favorites. So, but I didn't see. I think I missed maybe some of the part on Marathon, but I don't know if they showed too much on that. But that's cool. Bungie's finally going to a new IP since they've been on Destiny for a decade now. So, but yeah, and then I'm really hyped about Metal Gear Solid, and that's cool that it's obviously coming to Xbox like day one. I think the collection's also, that's great news because Metal Gear Solid's never been on Xbox, the first one. So hopefully maybe we'll get Metal Gear Solid 4 because this is volume 1, so maybe that's in volume 2. That would be sick. But yeah, outside of that, hopefully I think they're getting the original voice actor, David Hayter.
Yeah, they are.
I heard that.
Well,
okay.
They are
That's
used.
cool.
The way they worded it sounded like they're just using the original voice acting.
That's fine. I mean, if they're doing a 1-for-1, because that's probably what people actually want. Because obviously people wanted that from Final Fantasy VII, then they ended up doing kind of like a Back to the Future like sequel,
literally
where it's like
remaking the universe.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas this one, it's like if that's what they're doing, that's smart for them, because it's like you don't want to do a whole Twin Snakes scenario where you like start messing with stuff. Just do 1-for-1. Just don't piss anybody off, and then we don't have to be worried about it, because if you screw this up, then people are going to be like, oh, okay, well, Kojima's not there, so you guys are going to screw up the other two, if they get that far. But
Did you guys see Jeff Keighley?
Oh yeah,
where Jeff Keighley covered every game that was shown in that showcase except for that Metal Gear game, and he just kept asking them questions
he kept berating
about it.
Oh wow!
People were like, "Are they going to give? They're surely going to." Oh no! People were saying, "Oh, maybe they'll get him involved." I'm like, I feel like you don't know how that went down, because it was bad.
Yeah, and
so
Jeff is really good friends with Kojima, and he was kind of being as polite, as low politeness as he physically could be with asking Konami questions about the Metal Gear game. It was actually funny to watch.
Yeah, that was. Well, and for good reason. There is that, and there's some awesome videos on YouTube that you can find. That's kind of a theory rabbit hole, where it's like Kojima may have put PT on PlayStation himself because he was like second he was high up in Konami, where he could have pulled strings like that. So there's the theory that he did that purposely, and because he had basically his team that was supposed to be making Metal Gear Solid 5, they thought they were making a Ground Zeroes, like some part of the game that was psychological, but no, they were making PT, and that got launched, and then Konami got do a shit fit, and and they kind of did, because they were like, oh, we're pulling this, even if you downloaded it, we're just pulling off everybody's PlayStation, we're pissed off of this. So I'm like, maybe, I mean, I get it if he did all that, and maybe that makes sense why they pulled his name and scrubbed his name from his own last project and wouldn't even let him near the award. So I'm like, it's an interesting theory rabbit hole. If you go on YouTube, it was pretty entertaining. So just if you want to be in be entertained by that kind of a whole madness. But it's like, oh, well, this all makes sense now.
Go down the rabbit hole, viewers and chatters. Go down the rabbit hole. Okay, guys, I think I'm going to move on to the next topic. But before, if you want to chime in, Centurion, go right ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to just I know we got to move on. I'm just wanting to add on to what Crusader said about Xbox has a chance to really knock it out of the park, but this is my only problem with that is the gaming media at this point, IGN, GameSpot, all the big brands are basically a bunch of twisted, unreliable individuals that obviously enjoy to push a narrative. And that's because trying to hype Xbox is a lot more difficult than just bashing them. And that means they would have to actually do their damn job. And I don't see them doing that. And we can already see the incident with, we've got GameSpot coming out and modifying the Xbox graphic for these 12 games that are coming out on Xbox. And they're showing all Starfield screen captures. And they're the IGN director coming out and making just totally blatant biased statements. We have seen so much white knighting for the PlayStation Showcase that literally Xbox could probably put everything on the table that everybody is asking for, and the gaming media would still find a way to tear it down.
Like if Starfield is 30 frames per second, but is otherwise a perfect showcase, that's all everyone's going to talk about, and it will invalidate the entire showcase.
Exactly.
I'm 100% sure.
And that's where I'm already taking issues with content creators that are coming out saying Starfield has to be this, that, or the other. Otherwise, the brand is done. Shut the hell up.
I know, right?
Like, I'm just saying it right now. Starfield doesn't have to be anything that you say it needs to be, because guess what? That's not how Bethesda rolls. And you are completely inserting your head up your ass if you think for 1 second Bethesda is going to change anything about the company because you're on the internet complaining.
No, you're right. You're right on that. Again, I'll be curious to see how Starfield turns out, but
that's my whole thing is I really do feel that Xbox is going to deliver a really good show, but there's going to be a lot of people that rely on ad revenue that would rather clickbait well, I'm not even calling it clickbait anymore. I'm calling it click hate, because literally that's all it really is turning into is Xbox bashing gets more traction than Xbox hyping. And so no matter what, they're going to try to find anything to grasp onto to somehow tear it down, because they need to somehow defend the Sony PlayStation Showcase.
Centurion, just one last thing I just want to add to your to what you're saying. It's did you see that Games Radar article about the fan that died of cancer?
Yeah,
because of the delay of Starfield. That's so
After
sick.
learning of it.
just so you know, Grimes, you're echoing a bit.
I think your computer. I think it's actually using the wrong microphone.
Yeah.
You want to check your settings for your microphone.
To be fair, they literally missed a comma in that. That was a story that's been run a couple times. And if they had a comma literally in that title, it would have had a totally different meaning. That one I'm not as...
No, it's the wording.
No,
they said after learning of the Starfield delay. That implies things.
There's always titles like that, though. Fan doesn't get to see movie because they died of cancer beforehand. That is very common shit, and we are picking it up here because of the fact that we are in tune with the medium more so than other things.
It's a little naive, I think, but
I saw 6 of them with Star Wars because I'm so deep into the Star Wars community with the old movies. It's not. I really don't think that there was actual
the Skyrim grandma. If she doesn't live to Elder Scrolls 6, everyone's gonna throw a hissy fit kind of thing.
Yeah,
it's the same energy. I think.
I don't see that as
right.
I think that people blew that out of proportion.
Guys, anything else to add to this before we move on? Yes, no? All right, I'm gonna move on, but guys, great discussions about the PlayStation Showcase. Again, I thought we picked it up pretty good after that outage on my end, but some really good thoughts from across the board. Shockley, I'll get you in a minute. Guys in the chat, thank you for hanging out with us and sticking by. Yes, this is live. What just happened? Again, I had to start the stream up again because of the outage on my end, but we are back. Guys, if you're enjoying our chat, then please smash that like button, share out the show, let everybody know that yes, we are in fact live again. And hey, sub to the channel if you're a new face around here. But yeah, moving into some other bits of news, guys, and Microsoft is ready to fight tooth and nail for the Activision deal to go through. I mean, we all knew that. But Microsoft has filed an appeal against the UK CMA over the deal, and the proceedings start as soon as next week from the looks of things. Microsoft has come up with a list of, I think it's 5 grounds to contest the CMA's decision to block the Activision deal. The CMA has come under a lot of scrutiny for being, well, basically the only regulator to block the deal thus far. I mean, unless the FTC has something to say about it in the near future. Again, I'm curious about the panel's thoughts on this one. General MLD, buddy, I'll head your way first. The CMA has had basically a lot of light shined on it. What do you think of Microsoft's appeals list going against this regulatory body?
Okay, well, they're coming at it with about 5 points, more or less. Some I think, are stronger than others, but overall, it's a pretty solid case, I think, and will get only more solid as the remaining regulators approve. I think by the end of June, I think any remaining regulator will have said their answer, and if it follows all the other trends and everyone says yes, it'll just make the CMA look that much more weak and irrational in their argument. But I digress here. The first of the errors that Microsoft is putting forward is that their math is wrong on the size and impact of xCloud users. I'm sure we all know this one, like how every Game Pass Ultimate user is an xCloud user, and therefore is like what 60-70% of the cloud market, which is very much false. Like that is well, I mean, let's unpack it like right now in more than 2 ways. I myself have Game Pass Ultimate. I've used xCloud on more than one occasion, but it is like 5-10% compared to me just straight up native gaming on my TV. Like I didn't subscribe to Game Pass Ultimate because of xCloud. And anybody else, they could not use xCloud at all, period. But they're Game Pass Ultimate members. I'd say the real perk for Game Pass Ultimate is EA Play, but more importantly, it's the gold multiplayer. That's the real reason why we sub to it. It's not, xCloud is more of a bonus, but the CMA, they put all this importance onto it, and they just lump us all together when that's just not really the case. They're really inflating just how significant this market really is, and it's small enough to begin with. So that's the first one, I think. Like just really bad math interpretation there. Now the next one is they failed to recognize Microsoft's agreements with cloud gaming competitors, and this I think is a no-brainer. Like they went out of their way with GeForce, Boosteroid, the other one, but and they actually end up following up on that stuff with like Gears 5 and adding Xbox Studios games and Bethesda games to these competing cloud platforms. So these do matter. It shows that they're actually committed to this. They're not going to just pull Activision Blizzard games, but they failed to recognize that. The other point is that they're wrongfully concluding that Activision Blizzard library of games is vital to cloud gaming success. And this, I think, is a weaker argument, but I think is still worth saying because, like, for example, Call of Duty people, they will play on PC, but they'll play on console especially. You're not gonna find people playing Call of Duty multiplayer on Boosteroid. Like that, I just don't see that happening. So for cloud gaming, AAA isn't exactly like the games needed to elevate the brand. It's more like say for Xbox. Apparently, Minecraft Dungeons was a very popular game on Game Pass on xCloud. It depends on the kind of game. If it's a slower paced game, if it's like like even offline or again like co-op related, if it's not competitive, it doesn't have to be AAA to be a success on cloud. And in that regard, that's where the argument has merit. Like again, like you're not going to play necessarily online multiplayer games like Overwatch 2 or Call of Duty or World of Warcraft on a streaming service. So I think that's the point they were trying to make there. Another one is that the titles will come to cloud gaming competitors without the deal closing. This, I think, this is a big point. The Activision has said on numerous occasions that without this buyout, they had zero plans to bring their games to streaming services or Game Pass. Like, it just was not their agenda whatsoever. They want to capitalize on game sales, on microtransactions. It's just not their plan. So it took $69 billion to change their minds. So CMA thinking that they'll do it on their own accord eventually, that is baseless, and it's pure speculation. And you cannot like block a deal of this magnitude based on speculation. And I think the final one is that they think Xbox will foreclose other cloud competitors. But when that's also ridiculous because the other cloud competitors, they want this deal to happen. They want Microsoft to add the Activision Blizzard games to their catalog to boost it. So when the competition like Boosteroid or GeForce, they say they want this thing to happen, that's not exactly screaming to me Xbox is going to foreclose these guys when they want it to happen. So there you go. Those are the 5 in a nutshell. I think this deal is just a matter of when it's going to happen. Like I said, as long as the other regulators fall in line, the CMA looks that much weaker. I'm just a little fuzzy on the timeline. I hope this thing is thrown out sooner rather than later, but I don't know. Worst case, we might be talking about this until the end of the year, but I hope it doesn't come to that. That said, I also hope that the UK gamers don't get left out in the dust or get the short end of the stick here, because I think it will have to come to that if they continue to be stubborn. But I'm optimistic. Again, it's just a matter of when this is going to happen. And it's just being dragged out right now, but they got a pretty solid case.
All right. Some pretty well thought out arguments there, MLD. Appreciate your points. Now, Grimes, I'm curious about your thoughts on this with the Microsoft going to the tribunal here. What do you think about Microsoft's points that MLD just laid out? I don't know. Do you think that they'll be successful in overturning things?
First, tell me the audio is better.
Sorry, what was
Can you guys
that?
hear me? I was asking if the audio is better.
No, you're still echoing a bit. Yeah, still echoing a bit. Tell you what, we'll get back to you in a moment. Centurion, buddy. I mean, obviously, MLD laid out some pretty good points there from Microsoft's statements. What do you think about this moving into the tribunal? I know you've been covering things on your own channel with your own videos. What are your thoughts on all this?
See, this is where me and Crusader really agree on anything could happen. It's really difficult to honestly say at the end on what is going to happen, in my opinion. I'm glad that Microsoft is willing to fight this tooth and nail. And this is where I would say the one thing that CAT, the CMA, the FTC, a lot of these regulators are used to companies just kind of like bowing out, saying, screw it, we're dead in the water. But this is where we're starting to see Microsoft and Activision get, like, for starters, hire some heavy hitters when it comes to like representation from lawyers in the UK. And some of the lawyers that they've hired are very, very influential. I don't even want to use the word influential, but let's just say they're very well educated and have a lot of experience in dealing with CAT and getting difficult things to go through. It's just really, I really do not know what's going to happen. I'm glad that they're really trying to kind of like take as many hits to their arguments as possible. I don't, like General MLD pointed out on all their arguments, I don't agree with their math on cloud, how they somehow gauged 5 years of loss with 1 year of revenue, or however. How did they do it again, Crusader? I know it's like 5-1 based on how they did their math, with somehow proving that this was going to be anti-competitive because they took like 5 years of one thing and compared it to 1 year of another.
They did a lot of nonsense, and I don't really even quite remember because it's been a while since I actually looked at the CMA's original argument. All I know is the EU called them out on it and basically called them morons.
Well, yeah, and that's the one thing. Like, the EU basically came out and, like, it was like how somebody said, the EU said, hey, if you guys want to regulate based on the facts and also creating a market that is not only pro-competitive but also at the same time being like, if you're going to call something anti-competitive, do it with the facts and don't try to like push some narrative. The EU basically came out and said that we are not here to push a narrative or to defend one single player in a competitive market. They're here to help everybody in that market. And this is very, like, we could go down so many different rabbit holes on this, on how Microsoft could really get this across the finish line at the end of the day. But in all actuality, the only real way that I see Microsoft really having any actual success in achieving everything that they strived out to with the Activision buyout would be to get somehow the CMA to at least meet them at the table. That's one thing that I've always just shook my head at, on how the CMA is completely not wanting to be accepting of behavioral remedies. And that's, I feel behavioral remedies are there for a reason. They are an integral part of regulating antitrust. And to just completely flat out say that behavioral remedies are difficult to enforce and you don't want to deal with it, well, then get yourself the hell out of regulation, because that's just messed up. Because other countries don't have problems with behavioral remedies, but literally one of the smallest geographical locations in the world, the United Kingdom, is wanting to just completely botch the whole idea of antitrust regulation by saying behavioral remedies are difficult to enforce. And I don't even want to begin to discuss the FTC, because the FTC has been a complete circus for a while now. And just the leadership over there is being questioned even by our own government. But when it comes to the CMA, I'm glad that Microsoft is definitely willing to fight this tooth and nail. I'm just very curious on how this is going to play out. I want to come out and say that, Xbox has this in the bag, but in all actuality, we could see the CMA decide to lose their damn mind and just be like, no. And at the end of the day, that's going to fundamentally cripple the advancement of the UK tech economy. And that's where, we've already seen Lulu Chang, or whatever, forgive me, her name, we all know who she is on Twitter, come out and say that Activision has already started reassessing their future plans on investment over in the UK, and they're going to start favoring regions that are part of the EU. Same with Microsoft. I even loved how nobody caught Satya's statement that when he was asked, does this mean that Microsoft is going to scale back in the UK? He didn't give a yes or no answer. He just simply said, let's see how things play out. Like, that would be downright frightening to me if I was part of the UK government. Like, oh my God. And because they already, like Florian Mueller pointed out, already a number of countries have approved this deal. That is billions and billions and billions of dollars of approval from countries around the world. And that's where they pointed out that the United Kingdom at this point, because keep in mind, it's a small little island in the ocean, only makes up a couple $100 million of Microsoft's total money every year. And that's where they could just say, screw it, and just start. I'm not going to say shut down the studios and move out of the UK. I just see at this point that the United Kingdom would not be able to rely on Microsoft in creating any economic stimulation over there in that country anymore. And that would be a scary freaking thing to think about, that literally one of the number one leaders in in PC and technology innovation is saying that, you know what, we're just fine with standing still in your country. So Cat has a lot of things to consider. This is going beyond just the CMA's approach on wanting to regulate. Like, I really do feel that, honestly, at the end of the day, if the rest of the world approves it, why does one person get to fundamentally shit can this whole buyout? Because literally, I mean, I'm the kind of person that believes in voting and democracy, and who are you to hold that one stance on, like, no? In my opinion, I just really say, you know what's funny? If the rest of the world votes against you, get the hell over it, and just go sit down, and you don't get your way, because, like, literally nobody really supports their decision here.
Right. No, interesting take, Centurion. Interesting take. Very well thought out there. Shockley, buddy. I mean, I'm interested on your thoughts on this. Obviously, we've been hearing some really good points from Centurion. Heard Crusader chime in there a bit. MLD, of course. What's your take with the Microsoft going to the tribunals here? What do you think about their case?
Yeah, I mean, it still seems like a pretty big long shot for at least for them getting it overturned. I'm guessing they might, or they have the opportunity to kind of like lean in. I don't know if it'll make much of a difference, but the whole what do you say? Because they found out about, I guess, that one lawyer that's trying to think of it. The guy that was, I think, former Google and Sony.
He worked
lawyer,
for the same law firm that
that
works with Google and Sony. He formerly worked with them. Now he's the head of the CMA's, or the head of this team at the CMA that was looking over this merger. So there's a question as to whether that is an ethics violation or not. Though he's done this before, and no one even questioned him on it. So, like, that's all.
Yeah.
That itself is a long shot as to whether it is actually because if he was taking money now from them, it would be one thing.
Mm-hmm.
But he did move on from that job, so who's to say? I'll let the government figure that one out.
Be biased.
Yeah.
But it might be a worthwhile thing to like pursue to like get some type of, hey, can you guys at least, because right now all seems like you're doing is not really protecting anything. You're not trying to, what we thought the CMA or whoever was going to strike first was going to get the win of like, hey, we got Microsoft to will to our demands, but no, they're not even doing that. They just like absolutely don't want them to even go through, even if Microsoft sets up, I don't know, a bunch of different independent bodies to oversee it. Like they just want to kill the deal no matter what, no matter how much, good this could do. Because that's all we're seeing really is like, hey, if this goes through, this is actually going to help, flourish that market from what it is right now. Because if this doesn't go through and then, you're not getting all these games through cloud, then it might take longer for this market to grow, because you're not getting some of the biggest games that people play, some of the only games people play, like Call of Duty, to get it on, into the cloud space, into people's hands, where people don't even need to buy consoles, to play. Obviously, I think they have Warzone now on like cloud or mobile, but you can get the actual annual Call of Duty games in cloud and other big IP. And so it's just kind of like for them to lean on that, like, hey, could disrupt this market and not help it flourish, as I said a million times, or grow, it's going to hinder it. I'm like, no, it's pretty obvious that your decision to block this, not even set up some provisions of like, hey, you have to abide by this, 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 and this. It's pretty obvious that that's going to be more of a hindrance than you just blocking this and then hoping that competition works itself out, that some other big players that have already exited, the whole market, like Google and Amazon, the biggest people that you think, hey, they're going to make it work because they have servers, they have like Amazon's like either one or I think number two with as far as servers around the world. So it's like you think Luna would be taking off.
It's number one.
I thought Luna was going to be, they had the next best shot of being a success because they could be like, hey, all Prime users, you're all, it's like, kind of like how PS Plus did. Hey, all PS Plus members, you're all, we merged everything. So if you have Prime, you're automatically our customer. Like, if they just tied it in. It's like whether you want to watch our Prime shows, watch The Boys or not, you have it. But
yeah, it's Amazon, Microsoft, Google.
Yeah.
That's
I was gonna. Sorry.
Oh my God.
No, I was saying go ahead.
All right.
I was gonna say, like most Amazon Prime users, they don't even know that they have a gaming subscription service.
Yeah, I didn't know that it was included with mine, and I'm pretty
deep
into this. I learned about it through this case.
Yeah, I have no clue if it is, but I was just like, hey, that would make sense if you just tied it in and everybody's automatically a customer. People watch. There's many people that have Amazon Prime and don't watch any of their shows, but it's there if you're technically a customer,
and
whether you watch it or not.
Same thing with Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that they have all those.
Yeah.
How many people know that Netflix makes video games?
Yeah, that's probably the next. But see, that's why it makes sense. Like, how is this hindering competition? Because those Call of Duty games weren't going to go to Netflix or Amazon or whatever just naturally. Like, they weren't going to. Whereas, like, if Microsoft's working this out, they're bringing it to everyone, and they're not having to go through the whole, paying these giant license. I guess that was one of the other things they didn't want to have them being like, hey, you're going to.
Yeah, it's weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely right there. Crusader, but I mean, I know you want to chime in a bit on this.
Yes, want is a strong word.
Please, I'll love to get your.
It's not. I
love to get your thoughts on this, pal, and then obviously I'll move over to Dots for his as well.
Yeah, I actually can't stand talking about this anymore. But I am going to talk. I think Centurion and MLD and Shockley and Grimez did a great job of covering a bunch of stuff. I'd like to cover some dumb shit that some people have said in relation to this week. There was, and this is no individual can I call out for saying this. I've just seen it multiple times online that because of the appeal process, that's why Sony had a bad showcase.
Oh my God.
No, that is not. Okay, I can guarantee that's not. Okay, Sony doesn't have a chance on really assisting with these appeals because even the CMA, who has moved to block the deal, completely removed console as an SLI, as or an SLC, whatever it is, the lessening of competition. No, it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. The EU even said that they could foreclose Call of Duty and it wouldn't impact I mean, it would impact Sony's bottom line, but it wouldn't impact actual competition in the console space. Like that is maddening to actually hear someone try to claim and say, right? Centurion, you're the one who'd probably know this. Is console even a thing in the FTC's arguments? Or are they also only blocking on cloud? I actually don't know, and I didn't want to look it up. And if you don't know, then that's fine. I don't.
I think they haven't committed to any singular argument. They said they're going to look at everything.
Okay, because all of the regulators have either passed it with flying colors, or the only problems they had were cloud, right? Except for the FTC, which they don't, as far as I'm concerned, they don't exist.
FTC is blocking just because it's the color green.
Yeah,
big tech bad.
She sees that word Microsoft and she's like a bull all of a sudden. Like, oh my god.
So if you see that argument, all you have to do is go back to the European Commission's thing, and that says that literally says, Microsoft made these commitments on console and it's not an issue, but also the console space is this, and even if Microsoft didn't actually keep to the things they said on console, we're not even going to hold them to it. They can foreclose for all we care. They said the same thing with Bethesda, by the way, and that's why Microsoft changed its tune about how it was going to handle Bethesda. Because everyone told them they could do whatever they wanted and they weren't going to keep them to any commitments. And it's incredible to see the length that some people will go because of their disappointment. Sony, for all intents and purposes, is out of everything except for maybe the FTC's arguments about this, right? They have lost every possible ground that they had, at least in Europe, because they did not buy their arguments. They clearly, the rest of the industry was like, no, so I'm just like, yeah, I mean, they appealed, and they appealed exactly how this panel has said they would appeal. It's a strong, in my opinion, it's a strong case. And they are, the one thing that they are that we didn't talk about is they are actually asking for CAT to specifically overrule the cloud gaming portion and allow the deal to go ahead because the CMA said that everything else was okay, and they're specifically asking for them to target the cloud section and overrule that portion, because if they do, then it doesn't actually have to be sent back to the CMA for a re-review. If the CMA or if CAT decides to tighten the parameters with which they're supposed to handle the review, or how they're supposed to handle the review, and they say that you handled cloud wrong, and that cloud's not a separate market, or that cloud or that you vastly over enumerated cloud and you have to use this methodology to actually consider it, then it gets to a point where the CMA might just approve it by where it might be approved by default, or it might go back and they'd have to come up with a totally different argument. If they came up with a totally different argument, it could be appealed again on the grounds of that new argument. And so they have a very strong chance in this appeals process, in my opinion, if they can convince the panel that they overlook cloud marketing, or that cloud isn't even really its own market, and things like that. So I'm more bullish after reading their argument than I was before. But I grow weary of discussing it every week. It's at least it's a little bit more interesting now. And yeah, no, dumb people on the internet. No, Sony is not holding back because of regulators at this point. I don't think that. If they are unwise to do so, because no one is going to listen to them except for maybe the FTC. But I mean, the FTC has to actually get a federal judge to actually get moved to block, and I don't see a federal judge moving with the argument the FTC has. So there you have it.
All right, some fair points there, Crusader. How about you, Dots, to round this one out? Get any thoughts on the whole CMA tribunal?
Honestly, for the sake of time and sanity, I don't really have much else to say. I'm glad there's movement, ? And hopefully that continues in a positive favor for Microsoft. I think it will, but there's not honestly too much to add until we see some results. So that's all I really got to say on that.
All right, fair point. Yeah, this whole process, I mean, I have to agree with Crusader on this one. I'm kind of dead tired of talking about this. I made that point before. At the same time, it is interesting. I hate to say it. Learning a lot about the different processes with the acquisitions and the lengths that this is going to. Yeah, we'll see where this takes us and where it takes Microsoft, and one way or another, guys, this deal is gonna get done, in my opinion. So it just
Does anyone know about if they went to close the deal worldwide except for the UK? If would it be they have to stop everything they're doing there
Listen,
at
that's
Microsoft, or would it just be like, hey, the deal just doesn't exist in the UK?
that is one way they could approach it. That the deal doesn't exist in the UA. Spin off
That would make sense.
a ABK UK that handles all
Everything
publishing.
status quo.
Yeah.
In the UK, everywhere else.
Now,
So they miss out on Game Pass.
the
That would
CMA may
Hey,
try to find
guys,
them and
just
sue
use a
them over that.
VPN.
Right? Like the CMA may try and find them and sue them over that, but that then becomes a different conversation, and it honestly might become a we could we might face a $3 billion fine here, but if we give up on the deal, we'd be paying $3 billion anyways. So who cares?
Guys, just use a VPN and change your region. There you go.
So well, I mean, realistically, I'm pretty sure you can literally just change the region on your Xbox and get around it.
Well,
anyways.
you can.
So,
But if they had some type of
Yeah.
internet block, whatever, for cloud or something,
yeah.
use a VPN on your phone.
Well,
Cloud.
you're definitely
So-
not going to be able to use xCloud in the UK if that situation would happen. The reason I say that is your ping, like your
That would
RTT,
suck.
your round trip time from the data center to your device would be in the probably the hundreds of milliseconds. And that would be actually unplayable in just about any video game except for turn-based content. And in the turn-based content, it would be frustrating.
All right.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah,
But,
so
yeah, that's
cloud
what I
would
had
be
to say.
dead in the UK. Except, well, and so the thing is, xCloud would still exist in the UK in that case. It would just be the Xbox games. It would be specifically the ABK stuff that wouldn't be on it. Like that's the thing. People are like, oh, they'll just end cloud in the UK. No, I don't think that's likely. I think that it's more likely that you see a shell company that acts as an Activision Blizzard UK, and that is essentially the entity that existed before the merger, and it just basically is a pretend like the merger never happened for the United Kingdom. Happens with banks, quite often. I've said that before.
Mhm.
We're not at the point where I think that that's a reasonable discussion yet.
All right. Overall, guys, I mean, this is a very interesting discussion. I know we're all kind of tired talking about it, but at the same time, some things do need to be discussed when this news gets popped up. But still, very, very interesting talk from all this. I'm gonna move on to our last topic. It's a bit of a fun one, in my opinion. And yeah, guys, let's talk some Warhammer. A few days ago, we had the Warhammer Skulls Showcase take place, and we saw a few new titles announced, along with some new gameplay for Space Marine 2, Rogue Trader, and more. Now, I'm a Warhammer nut, so I'm looking forward to the chat, but I know, the guys here, you guys want to chime in. I know some of you guys like some of the Warhammer titles. Dots, my Necron-loving friend, what did you think of the showcase? I know you were keeping an eye on it.
Power wash simulator. That's what we're talking about, baby. That's what we're on about, baby. You ready to clean up a Lehman Russ or a Bane blade? Because I am.
You see, I was thinking more of cleaning out a ship of some sort, or a tent, or
But
like
it's
a
Nurgle infestation. Gotta clean it up.
maybe. I mean, yeah, Nurgle. Ooh, that'd be rough.
So now I'm thinking you're cleaning a Bane blade of blood and skull bits in the treads or some. I don't know how they do that with power wash sim. I'm assuming that does not have a high rating to allow blood in it. So
Check, see. Let me see.
So
Probably not.
Serious talk though. Obviously, as the RTS guy, hearing Realms of Ruin, that was a big surprise. I really hope they give the fantasy Warhammer some justice with a Dawn of War, experience. Not sure if it's going to be Dawn of War 1 or 2. Lord save us if it's Dawn of War 3, because that's a whole, can of worms that we don't need to go into. But surprisingly, besides Space Marine 2, because that's obviously like the biggest hype ever, Speed Freaks, I am excited, and apparently you can sign up for the beta now even. That game looks a hell lot of fun, and I am severely looking forward to playing Speed Freaks, because I'm not an orc guy. I appreciate them from a distance. I love their lore and all that stuff. This is revolutionary in terms of what they could have done with orcs.
Mhm.
Is make
Actually, it's
battle.
a very good idea. Not to over.
Yeah.
But guys, just so you know, Speed Freaks is a newly announced free-to-play combat racing title. So think Twisted Metal, but free-to-play with orcs.
Out of all the concepts they could have done, this one's a winner. This one takes a massive W of the newly announced Warhammer games coming out. That one honestly has me very hyped. Now, Realms of Ruin definitely does too. I can't wait to see more of it. But once again, I really want to see if it's going to be the classic RTS style of Dawn of War 1. Building buildings, making large armies. Or if they're going to go with the Dawn of War 2 style, where it's going to be tactical squad RTS, with focusing on cover and each squad having special abilities. Company of Heroes style for those who've never played Dawn of War 2. Obviously, RTS being a niche in itself. Also, all my RTS fans out there, I love you. But no, very big on that. And then a big surprise with some DLC for some of the older Warhammer games. They threw out orcs for Battle Sector. Wasn't expecting that. They added a small DLC for Gladius, which is pretty much their Civilization Sid Meier's clone. Was not expecting that. I don't know if it's still active, but that game is now free for the duration of the Warhammer sale on Steam. So that's really big. Was it new content for Vermintide, which is
June
awesome
1st.
seeing that in the midst of Darktide being their main focus, but Vermintide getting more love is fantastic. What were we saying, Grime? Okay.
Oh yeah, it's free to June 1st.
It's free to June 1st. Okay, cool. Yeah. So if you like Civ Myers, the turn-based strategy type gaming, Gladius is free, and it's just a Warhammer skin for that type of style game of a 4X, type of game. So that's really cool. I played it for a little bit. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, this is a successful year for Warhammer. I guess they added a DLC for Blood Bowl 3. I've not heard many positive things about that game, and it's not really my style, so I haven't really gone into it.
Yeah.
Added another hero to Total War Warhammer 3. I love that game. I love playing that game. Bolt Gun has been doing fantastic from what I've seen.
I'm playing it right now.
Do you like it? I've seen a lot of the die-hard Doom fans not enjoy it as much, but then the people who are big into Warhammer are very into it. So
I would say, in my opinion, if you enjoy old school Doom, Wolfenstein, like Hexen kind of games, I don't see why you wouldn't enjoy it. It's a little bit more of an easygoing game. Well, I say easygoing. No, like the weapons feel great, and like you just want to like puff your lips out and just go, ooh yeah, like it's awesome. Like it really, it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
No, and the fact that wasn't even part of this, that came out earlier, and in the midst of Warhammer going towards its 10th edition, some big lore things going on. Like Warhammer is doing really, really well, and the IP at least, because every Warhammer fan for as long as I know has always claimed their gripes with Games Workshop as the company.
But I mean, you spoke of Vermintide too, which is great that there's new levels, but the elephant in the room is Darktide Xbox. What the heck is going on with it?
I no, you're right. You're right. That's we've waited way too long for that, because I have so many friends who will start playing Darktide once it's on Xbox, and hopefully with that promised crossplay. Because
that's me.
Yeah, that's big. I've played it on PC. I got my my guardsman up to level 30, and while I don't really feel an incentive to play on the other 3 classes to level 30 because there's not much else added to the game. Now I know they just added 2 new maps and a new enemy to fight, like a mini boss enemy type. I guess it is a boss, not a mini boss, but a new enemy to fight, which is cool and all. But I would prefer to play more of it with more people, and I know more people means crossplay, which hasn't happened yet. So that is definitely a gripe going on. Like I was saying, a lot of Warhammer fans will have their gripes against Games Workshop as a company, but the Warhammer IP is alive and it is doing very, very well this year. So I cannot wait to see more. I can't wait to see.
Let me ask you something. Can you
what's
play Darktide by yourself?
Yes, you can. I believe there is a way to force a private lobby so you can play. I think if you play by yourself, it puts you with AI players. It puts you with 3 AI players.
Yeah, I think it's similar to Left 4 Dead in that regard, where like you get the AI instead of a real player.
Yeah, so I think it forces you into a team of 4 no matter what.
Yeah.
But you can technically play if you don't have friends, which obviously, or if you don't want to play with other people, because randoms are also very annoying too. I mean, sometimes it feels like you're playing with AI sometimes. But no, I'm looking forward to seeing more for Realms of Ruin. That's my big thing. I can't wait to get into, hopefully get into the beta for Speed Freaks and absolutely tear it up with that, because that just looks like, dumb fun. Like, I'm going to melt my brain of how much fun I'm going to have with something like that. Space Marine 2, I did not play Space Marine 1 until last year, and I am now so overly hyped for Space Marine 2. Because it is just such a great game, and I cannot wait to see where it takes it story-wise, gameplay-wise. Killing Tyranids, I love killing Tyranids. If you don't love killing Tyranids, what's wrong with you? Killing Tyranids is great. To all you Tyranid players out there, I love killing you. Stay frosty, But yeah, no, that's my rant. As you can tell, there's my enthusiasm for today's podcast. Warhammer, the IP, is doing great, and I cannot wait to see what else they have in store for this year and beyond. Especially, we know once 10th edition hits, they're going to drop even more stuff on us, and it's going to be great.
Mm-hmm. I tell you, I can't wait to start paying my Tau this summer. So, yeah, man. I wish you were closer, Dots. I really want to battle against your Necrons.
I have a passport, so, come at me.
Good point. One of these days, I will. Maybe. Might.
No, you said come at me after saying I have a passport.
I do. One of these days, I'll fly down and I'll come at you with my my army, my dude.
Yeah, I just have to get close. That's it. That's your weakness. I just have to get close to you, and then there's no issues for me.
Yeah, but my guys have the big fucking guns, so
I do, but mine come back after you kill them.
Yes.
We could be at this all day. This Warhammer's nothing but a pissing match between. Oh, my faction can do this, but my faction can do that.
You're right.
And then the Tyranids show up.
Yeah, the all-encircling death. Yes. General MLD, buddy, I know you've been keeping an eye on the Warhammer games as of late. Did you enjoy any of the new announcements or any new gameplay that you've seen for games from the event?
Yeah, my primary interest is in Space Marine 2. As you know, I played the original like just this year, like maybe like a month ago. Absolutely loved it. This game looks like a step up in every single way. The graphics, the gore, the combat. It just I can't wait. It looks like a really, really fun time. So there's that. Was there a release date for that announced?
No, actually, not
Okay.
yet.
Still
So
said
there's that.
2023, right?
Yeah, it's supposed to be 2023. That and Dark Tide. I just hope that. Well, you guys said like the game got some content updates, little stuff like that. So I feel like we'll benefit from that once it eventually does come to Xbox. I just hope it's sometime this year as well. So we'll get a lot of Warcraft. No, oh my God, Warcraft. We'll get a lot of Warhammer love pretty soon. It's just I hope we get a release date that doesn't conflict with other big games.
Mm-hmm. No, agreed. Grimes, buddy. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been into like the Warhammer video games at all. Do any of the games announced or shown at this recent event, have any of them caught your eye?
Yeah, absolutely. So my standout for me was Bolt Gun, and especially because I love the old school Doom games. So I know Dots mentioned that a lot of the old school Doom players don't really like it, but from what I've seen, it looks awesome, and I can't wait to play it.
I
And
didn't mean that
I'm
as
looking
like
forward
as a
to
branching
Space
statement.
Marines too.
I wasn't really meaning
And
that as a
I don't
branching
really have that much more to add. This, but does pretty much touch on everything that I wanted to say about the Warhammer game.
Okay.
I apologize. I didn't really mean that as a branching statement. The gripes I've seen were mostly like with the repetitiveness of some of the levels, and that it's like you go into a room and then you have to purge the room, and then you go into the next room and then you have to purge the room.
Yeah.
And I've heard that is the only real complaint I've heard about people say about Bolt Gun is that that loop is a little too repetitive, and that there's not as much like I like I said, I haven't played the game, so I don't want to speak out my ass here, but there's just some things missing from the classic Doom game or the classic Wolfenstein, and that it for the lore nerds it's great. I've been watching a very well known Warhammer guy playing it, Bricky.
Bricky.
I've been watching him play, and he picks out the things like all the weapons have like their their tabletop accurate strength value, and all the enemies have their tabletop toughness value, and the damage you do to them is based on that. The taunts are the best taunts I've ever freaking heard out of a Space Marine yelling at a bunch of demons and cultists. So the game looks great, and I've heard so much positive. It's just the very few the only thing I've heard negative is like how repetitive the purge sections are, and that just seems to be what a lot of that game is, which I mean that's Warhammer, baby. You purge things when you
No, honestly, it's very comparable against
Now,
the
do you
old
guys think
school.
that Space Marine 2 could end up on Game Pass?
So
I hope.
Focus
That would be awesome.
Entertainment is publishing, right?
Correct.
It is a non-zero chance because Focus loves Game Pass.
It would help the multiplayer, assuming it has one.
We actually don't know if it has one. That is a good point.
I hope it does. Space
you
Marine
know,
1 was really good multiplayer.
The release date could end up at
It
the
could be announced,
Xbox.
yeah.
It could be at the Xbox conference.
I
It
do
would be a
think
flex.
the reason that Dark Tide was not really shown here is because it's going to be at the Xbox showcase. Personally, that is the personal, no information, no insider information. That just kind of makes sense in my head because it has a Game Pass deal. That they'd mention it briefly, and then it'll be at the Xbox showcase for that.
Hope so.
But yeah.
That would be the flex is, Xbox shows off a lot of Warhammer stuff that wasn't shown during the Skulls thing, and then be like, yo, we got this Game Pass. Hey, Space Marine 2, you like that? Game Pass.
Yeah.
Dark Tide, Game Pass.
So-
and that's going to be their flex.
We do know that Games Workshop does, because Xbox sponsored this event last year. So like we know they have a good working relationship. So it wouldn't it. I'm not going into the Xbox showcase. You know, I mean, I'm kind of expecting Dark Tide because like where is it? But like, I'm not expecting Space Marine. But if someone was like, "Hey, Space Marine got announced for Game Pass," I'd be like, "Well, that makes sense." You know what I mean? Like that's where I am with that. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I hear you, Crusader. Centurion Pal, I mean, I'm curious about your thoughts. Did you catch any of the news surrounding the Warhammer's Skull Showcase? Any of the games catch your eye or new gameplay?
So I'll be entirely honest with you. I didn't realize they had a showcase until you sent me the link to it. I need to still sit down and watch it, but I enjoyed reading everything from the link you sent me with Eurogamer. And that's where, I mean, from watching some of the trailers, I am definitely interested in Speed Freaks. Obviously, Space Marine 2. I still need to play the original Space Marine. I told you I just recently bought an Xbox 360 and picked up Space Marine, excuse me, to actually play it because, I mean, I remember starting it when it, like, years ago on my 360, but for whatever reason, I just ADD'd it and never completed it, and now I want to go back and actually play it. Obviously I'm interested in Dark Tide. I would love to know when it's coming to Xbox, but like you were showing me on Twitter, like I'm excited about the DLC for Vermintide 2. It gives us another reason to go back and play more Vermintide. I've had a lot of fun in the past playing Vermintide 2 with you and a couple other people in the community. I've also got other games in my backlog like Mercenary and Blood Bowl 2 that I need to check out. But also, I don't know why, but for some reason, like I was asking you about Battle Sector. For some reason, Battle Sector has my attention. But then you were also telling me Mechanist also happens to be a really good game as well. And like that's one thing I love about like this whole 40K community. Is it just totally like if you look at some of the reviews, I mean, if you judge a game based on its reviews, and this kind of leads back to like what we were talking about earlier with Gollum, if you look at some of the reviews and just how people like are receptive to these games, like don't get me wrong, like these games are not exactly massive reviewed games that have like these great glorious reviews behind them, but it just goes to show that Warhammer is not this whole mediocre game franchise or collection of games or world. Like you said, like it's a very in-depth community. There's different ways to actually experience the Warhammer universe. And this is where I just feel like this is something that I've missed being a gamer, and that I should really check it out more because there's actually a lot there to offer for people that are just a fan of just great, unique experiences, which is why that, you know, I need to kind of really experience titles like this. And that's why I love listening to you guys talk about all this stuff. Cause I mean, it's just exposing me to a genre of gaming that I completely missed out on.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a good sale going on right now for the games that you mentioned. Again, Mechanicus, pretty good game. Hired Gun, while it had a reception, I actually really like the gameplay loop is like similar to Doom's, and it does get repetitive, but at the same time, it is fun. So I might, you know, if it's a good price, you know, I might suggest that.
What did you think of Battle Sector?
I think it's okay. I think it's okay.
Isn't it just like a watered down tabletop? Kind of?
It's a turn-based game. Yeah, I think it's fine. It's a fine overall game. Yeah.
Compare it to Halo Wars 2.
Halo Wars is better.
Yeah.
Well, I've already played Halo Wars 2, but I don't see another Halo Wars game coming out. So, would this be something that would scratch that itch without having to replay Halo Wars?
Well, Halo Wars is RTS. Battle Sector's more, again, turn-based.
Coming from the professional, if you want to get that itch again, play Dawn of War.
The one that's coming out? Dawn
you
of
mean
War.
the Ruins?
Runes of which one's Dawn of War? Is Dawn of War PC or console?
It's probably
Oh, right,
only-
you're on console.
yeah,
I don't know if there really is a.
I would probably, if you're going that Halo Wars itch on console, I'd probably just play Age of Empires 2 or wait for Age of Empires 4.
Yeah,
The closest you're
I would
gonna get.
agree.
Probably, yeah.
Let's see. Shockley, buddy. I mean, I'm curious about your thoughts on this. Did you happen to check out the Warhammer Skulls event? Again, I'm not sure if you're interested in any of the property itself, but did any of the games catch your eye or the gameplay?
I'm like Centurion, or I didn't even know they. When I saw that in the bottom of the links, I was just like, oh wait. But I've definitely been hype about the that Dark Tide one that they showed off at, I think, multiple Xbox game shows now. Always look really cool. So I've been hopeful we'd hear more and, you know, get a closer release date or eventually just a release. But no, I didn't check out this one, but I don't have too much familiarity other than I know back when I was like young in the 90s and wanted the get involved in the tabletop scene back then, but you know, knowing the prices of some of those figurines and stuff like that, I always wanted that one of those cool Warhammer sets. They always look pretty sick. But yeah, I'm definitely hopeful that we'll see hopefully something with Dark Tide here coming soon, which I guess wasn't there at the show. So hopefully we'll see that here in the next week or two at the Xbox showcase. But you know, hope that's pretty awesome that they're, you know, still releasing content for some of their older legacy titles. So and it sounds like it's getting, you know, as far as like a community wise, they're just like more popular IP as well. Because I think I would hear like bits and pieces of like, oh, there's this Warhammer game, and I just knew of the tabletop, but I didn't really see it as being that big. But now with all the different entries and access to those games, some of like Vermintide and stuff like that on Game Pass, more people have gotten, you know, been able to get into the IP and the lore and the whole thing. So, but hopefully we'll see some more quality games, and hopefully that Dark Tide lives up to some of the hype that it's put on. So definitely looking forward to that, hopefully here in a week or so.
All right, fair comment. Yeah, no, I mean, again, I'm looking forward to it, and we'll see how that goes, especially Space Marine 2. Damn, thing looks sick. Can't wait for a release date on that sucker. I think, guys, that's gonna about do it for tonight's show. I know we went a little longer than usual. Again, I'm sorry for the outage earlier. I'll see what I can do post show, but thank you everyone for sticking around and being so understanding. My PC situation will get better soon. I got to get a new one, and just thank you very much for sticking with us tonight. But overall, fun chat tonight from across the panel. We talked about the PlayStation Showcase, Xbox's Tribunal with the CMA, and the Warhammer Skulls Showcase event. Again, really, really great activity seeing everybody in the chat tonight. And guys, if you enjoyed our discussions for the last 2 hours or so, then please consider dropping a like, subbing to the channel, and of course, sharing this episode out. Now it's time to get to the outros, and I will start off with our guests. Dots, buddy, pal. Actually, you know what? I will, hold on. It's got to change out somebody. I'll get Dots back in here. Dots, pal, great to have you back on as per usual. Where can all these fine people follow you at?
Thank you for having me. Everyone here can find me at DotzRTS on Twitter. Feel free to, you know, hit me up with a DM or message, you know, talk RTS stuff. Also, I forgot to mention, I was wrong. You can actually get, at least on PC on Steam, you can get into the Speed Freaks alpha right now. Like, I just downloaded it while you guys were talking. So I will probably be playing that later. So if you guys have interest in that, you can literally do that right now. But yeah, no, awesome to be here with you guys. Awesome to talk. You know, little hiccup here, not a problem. We were just going on off the camera. You know, it's just like the show never stopped when that happened. So you know, we're all passionate about this stuff, and we love it, and we love talking about it. So I'm always happy that you guys include me in this, and I'm always happy to be here.
Vader, is someone talking?
I can hear you.
Vader, are you trying to talk? 'Cause you're muted.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
All right. Well, moving on from that one, I guess, let me see. Did we get to Grimes's outro yet?
I was the only one who outroed.
He was the
So
only one
Okay,
out.
cool. Yep. Nope. We'll start with Grimes next then.
Well, I just want to echo what Dot said. Thanks for having me again. It was a pleasure. I love talking to you guys about video games. If you want to know more about me, I'm Two-Step Grimes on Twitter, although I don't really use Twitter that much. Or you can find me on my YouTube channel, which is Grimes Designs, where I post most of my animations and 3D animations and Unreal Engine projects, stuff like that. One of my animations recently actually got 150K views, which I'm pretty stoked about.
Nice.
Right. It's always good to
That's
hear
pretty much
your.
it. Again, thanks for having me. It's always.
Yeah,
Oh no,
good
thanks for
time.
being here, man. It's always good to hear your
Great
input
talking
on
to you guys.
animations. Like I mean, like I always love watching like the stuff you link me on your animations and the different stuff to use for that stuff. Like, dude, you are like a fountain of information when it comes to stuff like that. And like it definitely shout out to you on like what you do, man. And good luck to you on your job ventures, because you even showed me those ones, man. Freaking more
Much
power to you.
appreciated.
Moving on to Mr. Shockley, where can we all find you at?
Yeah, as always, you can find me at Shock Nero on Twitter, Easy Shock on Xbox Live. But yeah, thanks for our guest stopping by, filling in. And then yeah, I think Invader's PC went off just right at the end. But yeah, thanks for stopping by, and see you later.
And of course, our favorite commentator, Garrus lover, Destiny player, Mr. Crusader.
Hey, how we doing? It's good. You know, you can find me at Crusader3456 on everything. Next week's gonna be fun because that should be prediction week, right? Because that's the week before the week before the big show, right?
I believe so. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, it's like June
should
11th,
be-
right?
Yeah, that'll be the show's June 11th. So next week should be the one before the big one. So like that's fun. I really love those prediction shows. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Because
yeah.
next week, because literally the next show after that, we would be talking about what was shown.
Yeah. So, you know, this should be really good. I'm really excited. So, you know, find me at Crusader3456 and everything, and find me here next week when we get into what we think's gonna show up. I'm sure that has to be a topic. I'm stating it now. It's a topic. That's the most fun part before a showcase is, you know, but what could be there?
That leaves me. Thank you to both our guests. Thank you, Grimes. Thank you, Dots. It's always great to hear your input and definitely hear the information you guys bring to the conversation. For those interested in finding me, I am Centurion1307. You can find me here every Sunday night on TXR, and 2 hours before the start of this show, you can find me on Gaming Beyond the Box. You can also locate me at Centurion1307, Xbox Live, Twitter, and of course right here on YouTube. And until next time, everybody, thank you for joining us. And as always, like me, Crusader, everybody else also tries to just kind of push, just play what you want, where you want, no matter what anybody says.
Did we get Shockley?
Yes, we did get Shockley. The
Shockley?
only downside is like everybody, I'm pretty sure General MLD is stuck backstage, but because
no!
yeah, oh, there he is. No, that means Invader's back. He's able to add him.
He's here. Yeah.
There I am. Okay. Yeah.
Go ahead, give us your outro, bud.
Keep it short and sweet here. Yeah, great. It was a lot of fun here. Gamer tag Ghost MLD, Twitter at MLD Ghost, and yeah, next week's gonna be pretty good. E3, E3 style prediction season is upon us. So yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Listen, E3 is like Band-Aids, right? Like, Band-Aid's technically a company, and like it doesn't cover all of the Band-Aids that exist, but everyone just calls them Band-Aids. E3
Right.
is now just the gaming events of the summer. I don't care if it has a copyright held by the ESA. It's mine now.
Yeah.
And of course, let's just add what Invader always adds to the game. Please find Invader at Invader 86 on his YouTube channel. And as always, like he likes to say, that, you know, check us out on other different platforms, BitChute, Rumble. Always be sure to like and subscribe to the show, everybody. And we really appreciate you being here. That's where we're going to have to probably drop out.
Yeah.
He'll edit it on the back
He'll
end.
edit it on the back end?
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
All right. Peace, everyone.
Later, guys. Yeah, we're all going to have to
Later.
drop out, so it's silence.